Welcome to the Irishman, Englishman and Scotsman Football Podcast. You are listening to the Irishman, Englishman and Scotsman Football Podcast. Joining me, the lads, as usual. How are we doing, lads?
Blooming marvellous.
Yeah,
Good, thank you.
Everybody's happy. Big results for our teams, apart from Joe, in the Premier League this week. But moving on, it does not stop this Premier League train. Friday night, Goodison Park, 9 o'clock. Everton, who drew 0-0 with Brighton, and Tottenham, who once again went ahead, but lost 3-1 to Man U. It's 7th against 8th. Those results at the weekend, I think, for those two teams, really eliminated their top four hopes. Finno.
Yeah, I don't even know if it eliminated their top four hopes. I think we're probably talking about, eliminating Europe full stop. We're talking about Kane potentially leaving if they don't get Champions League football. I think they're starting to look like they won't get Europa League football either, which is a huge turnaround from what I was saying just 3 or 4 months ago. Yeah, Everton, I think they have too tough a run-in, to be honest, to challenge for that final Europa League spot, but who really knows? Maybe they'll hit a bit of form. Certainly, I didn't necessarily think they were any better than Brighton this weekend. The run-in, they play Spurs, they play Arsenal, they play City, could quite easily take 0 points from those 3 games.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far as you in ruling out European football certainly not for Tottenham. I think what Tottenham have shown us this season is they are capable of mixing it with most teams. So I don't think they're quite out of it yet. But what you said there about Harry Kane, I think that is going to be foremost in every Spurs fan's mind anyway. If that's it, if they don't qualify and if they lose Harry Kane, that will be a really sad day to be a Spurs fan. I don't think anyone will care anything at all about the manager, but if Harry Kane goes, that is going to feel like a body blow to them.
Everton were really poor against Brighton, actually. For a club going for European football, they just showed nothing. They looked really kind of lethargic. I was really surprised, and I think they've lost 4 in a row now. So it's not a good time to be losing form. And if you're an Everton fan, it's kind of the hope that kills you, isn't it? You think you're there all season, and then when it really comes to it, you lose 4 in a row. So, like I said, Finny, they've got a really tough run in, so it's going to be hard for them now.
Yeah, and I think with Kane, obviously with West Ham and Chelsea being above them, both sets of fans would love to be the team that, rips their captain away from them by getting that final Champions League place. But I don't really know where he can go. He's probably going to cost upwards of £100 million. He's got, I think, 3 years left on his contract. So Levy's not going to exactly let him go on the cheap. But is he a better buy for a City or a United than Haaland is? And it's probably going to be roughly the same price. I don't really know.
I think he might be, though. Do you know what I mean? I think, we all watched Haaland at Salzburg, and I think we're all fans. We'd all expect him to do really well in the Premier League. But if you've got someone like Harry Kane there, who is going to score a ton of goals, and just in the last year or so looks like a really good football player now as well, right? He looks like he's got an eye for the pass. He looks like his control looks really good. Do you know what? If I had to take a punt, honestly, I might go for Kane. I think I almost certainly would go for Kane over Haaland if it was the same money.
I'm not sure about that, Kev. I mean, obviously there's resale value as well, because he's a lot older than Haaland. And also you have to take into consideration, you have to play to his strengths. He's a phenomenal finisher, but he lacks a bit of pace. And he's not a guy that's going to run from the halfway line, and take players on and beat them, i.e. Mbappe or Haaland. But definitely he could be a serious addition to any team. I don't think Man City will go for him, to be honest. I think they go for somebody younger if they need anybody. Man City could buy, a Barnsley left back and win the league with him playing up front the way they are. Moving on, massive game, Finno, at St James's Park on Saturday, 1:30. Newcastle against West Ham. Newcastle, of course, beat West Ham away quite easily earlier on in the season in the reverse fixture. Massive win for Newcastle against Burnley. Tactics were a bit baffling once again from Steve Bruce. Now, we know how Burnley play. They're big at the back. They got Tarkowski. They got Ben Mee. They're really strong on the air. So what you don't want to do is what Newcastle did and play long balls up to Joe Linton, which they mopped up all day long. Now, I don't know what the corner count was, but it must have been about 40 corners to Burnley at half-time. And they're absolutely dominating the game. Newcastle had a couple of chances. Jacob Murphy, when the ball was played on the ground, rolled it into Dwight Gale. They maybe could have had a penalty. and the goalkeeper made a good save, but it wasn't looking good for Newcastle. And on the half-hour mark, he brings on the Saint who saved Newcastle, Alan Saint Maximin and Callum Wilson, both just back from injury, not 100% fit. Oh my God, did Saint Maxime turn up? He absolutely terrorised Burnley from the off. I think he was on the field about 2 minutes, had up an absolute screamer of a goal for Jacob Murphy, which was similar to that of Trent Alexander-Arnold's goal at the weekend as well, just from the other side. And then he scored one of the goals of the season. Maximin got the ball on the halfway line from Shelby, ran the length of the pitch from the halfway line, and Burnley were twisting and turning and, didn't know what to do. He goes onto his left foot and rolls into the corner and could have scored another at the end. Newcastle win. They get that massive win, which pushes them 6 points ahead of Fulham, who are also very unlucky. Now, Newcastle are by no means safe. But I think, luckily for West Ham, I don't think these guys, Saint Maximin and Wilson, will start. I think they'll come off the bench. And obviously West Ham, I think, might be missing Declan Rice, possibly. I think Noble went off at the weekend. So a bit of a gap in midfield. Newcastle won't lie down. I think we will have a go at West Ham. And, I wouldn't be surprised if we if we end up with a draw here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll raise you Alan Saint Maximin's goal of the season, and I'll raise you Jesse Lingard's against Wolves, where he took it from about 15 yards inside his own box and took it round 4 or 5 players. But to be honest, the player that I'm singling out from that Newcastle team is Dubravka, because I thought he had a really good game against Burnley, save after save after save. I'm sounding a bit like a broken record here because I keep talking about Jesse Lingard, but he's gone from out of the United team, out of the England setup for nearly 2 years to, I think, pretty arguably a starter for Euro 2021 in just 4 months. There's already rumours about Madrid, PSG, Inter Milan all taking a look at him because he's only going to be supposedly £30 million in the summer for Man United. Given his incredible form, who can really blame them? But this is also a massive game for West Ham. And as you mentioned, we've had a lot of injuries. Antonio and Rice are out already. Cresswell looks like he's rumoured to be out as well, which potentially leaves us one short at an already porous defence, given that we've gone 3-0 up in our last 3 league games and we've basically had heart attack games ever since. But if we can keep Alan Saint Maximin and Wilson quiet and at bay, unlike Burnley did, you would hope that West Ham have enough going forward with Souček, with Fornals, with Bowen, who, for whatever reason, David Moyes seems to be able to turn wingers into centre forwards. I think we should have enough to get the 3 points, and that then really starts to put huge pressure on Leicester, given that they're playing in the FA Cup.
Yeah, I also, a big factor in this game, Finno, and obviously the Burnley game for Newcastle, is that their captain, Jamal Lascelles, is out. He's out for a long time, possibly the end of the season. So there was, in the air, I thought we were weaker. Dubravka did play really well. I thought Jacob Murphy played out of his skin, and he's Matt Ritchie on the left side. Between him and Jacob Murphy, who Bruce is now starting, Newcastle have a bit of stability, and they have, wing backs who push up the field and put pressure on the opposition fullbacks. There might be a question, about West Ham's defence. Definitely scoring goals, but you are conceding as well. So I think Bruce, hopefully, or Graham Jones will look at that, and I'd take a draw all day long.
I think one of the things that is underrated about this West Ham team is actually how clinical they are. So if you look at the stats from the Leicester game, we only had 4 shots on target and we scored 3 goals. If Newcastle give us the opportunity to shoot and shoot consistently and constantly, like Burnley had with their crosses, then you would expect a team with Jesse Lingard or Jared Bowen to at least take 2 or 3 of those chances. But I say that, and every time that I've been remotely positive about West Ham, we've gone and managed to screw it up. So we'll see what happens come Saturday lunchtime. But fingers crossed, this should be a relatively straightforward game for West Ham, considering where they are in the table and how this season has gone.
I don't agree. I mean, I don't think anything's relatively straightforward in this Premier League season, unless you're Man City, and even them, they lose to Leeds. I mean, Tottenham are red hot favourites. They're a bit of form, and that they couldn't beat Newcastle. So, Newcastle obviously still fighting for their lives. West Ham will be, of course, deserving favourites, but don't rule out the draw, Okay, moving on to the second game. Only 2 games on Saturday. 9:15. Wolves against Sheffield United. Wolves beat Fulham in the last minute. Cracking goal from Adama Traore, which I actually celebrated, as you can wonder why. Sheffield United hammered by Arsenal, really relegated. Wolves are safe. This is a nothing game, really, Joe, isn't it?
Yeah, it was actually. Just before this, I was trying to work out the permutations of when Sheffield United can actually be relegated. I couldn't find it out. I don't think it is this weekend for this game. It may be the game after. Since Chris Wilder's left, we were wondering if there may be any kind of bounce when Paul Heckingbottom came in. But if anything, they've just got worse, haven't they? So I think they just need to be put out of their misery now. And it wouldn't surprise me if behind the scenes they're now just focusing on how they can come back up next season. I would think Wolves will beat them comfortably.
Yeah, I think I was just looking at the tables on. I think it might be this weekend. Actually, I think it could be the end for them. It'd be nice. If Wolves hit a bit of form towards the end of the season, wasn't it? We've talked about it all season. It had been a bit disappointing. It was good. Yeah, you must have been really happy, JP, because I reckon Newcastle are just about now. All right, one more result, even a draw, and then I think you're fine. Going by you need to be 1 point per game. I reckon you're 1 point short.
You are so right, Kev. I mean, first of all, yes, I was super excited. I would have took the point because I was looking at it, and it happened last week as well with Fulham. We're in the bottom 3, and then when we go in there, can we actually get out? Because we can't win a game. Fulham go ahead, but Villa turn it around, and thank your lucky stars. This week, the same again. Fulham actually probably should have been ahead in this game. They had a couple of really nice chances. Loftus-Cheek with a header, Mitrovic. They had a few chances. And yeah, I mean, devastating blow. You've seen at the end what it meant to the Fulham players. Lamina, who's had a great season for me, I think, in midfield. He scored the winner at Anfield, even though they're getting relegated. He's a top player. And he was crying at the end. And you could just see the look on Scott Parker's face when that goal went in. His head just dropped and he was just devastated, And I do feel for Fulham, but obviously I was delighted when they went in, and then Burnley went 1-0 up. And yeah, it wasn't looking good for Newcastle again, but it's been like that for a long time. And, they might be like at the end of the tunnel. I don't want to get too confident too soon. But I think you're right. I think possibly another win or a couple of more draws, and that might be enough. But also, you've got to look over your shoulder at West Brom now as well. West Brom are winning games, and yeah, Newcastle have a tough run in, but I think for the teams that we're looking at Newcastle as a potential easy 3 points, now the big boys are back up front, maybe not so much. Moving on to Sunday, 2:30, Arsenal against Fulham. Morale boosting win for Arsenal against Sheffield United. They're also playing in midweek away in Europe. Lacazette looked really sharp. Like I said, Fulham, absolutely devastating defeat to Wolves. And you'd wonder, would that kill them off? The only thing on Fulham, this is a must-win game for Fulham, but I think what is on their side is the fact that Arsenal didn't sew up. I expect Arsenal to beat Prague, but, they didn't sew it up. They were unlucky to concede a goal in the last minute, that they'll probably have to play a stronger team now on Thursday night. So that might help Fulham a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I said it last week and I'll say it this week. I still don't know whether or not Arsenal are going to get through against Slavia Prague. I think that Slavia are really underrated. And if you think of the 2 Czech players that West Ham have taken, Souček and Soufal, both have come from that Slavia team and both have fitted in very nicely in a Premier League team. Joe Cole, after the Fulham game, said it best. That was a dagger to the heart of Fulham. And then I think the Newcastle result was just gently putting in the nails into Fulham's coffin. And I do think you're right, JP. I think you're probably actually looking more over your shoulder at West Brom than you are at Fulham now. It's going to be a Herculean effort for Fulham now, and I don't see them getting anything against Arsenal. The only thing that I can think of is that if Arsenal have to go the distance in Europe, then maybe the legs will be slightly tired, and then maybe Fulham can get a result. But that Wolves result would have just absolutely shattered morale.
Perhaps we could just talk for a second about West Brom. For those who've been watching a couple of their games, how is it that they're suddenly so good? I mean, Joe, I suppose this one's for you, really. But what's happened? Are they as good as they sort of look now, or is it just I don't know. What is it?
I mean, I think Sam Allardyce has always been a very attack-minded manager, and it's just no. To be honest, I don't really know. They were very good against Saints, but Southampton were dreadful. Probably the worst performance I've seen Southampton play for many, many years. I think it's just a bit of momentum, isn't it? And a bit of confidence. They put 5 past Chelsea, and they just kind of carried it on against Southampton. And I think West Brom got to the stage where they had nothing to lose. Everyone was kind of writing them off. Everyone thought they were down. And since the international break, they've come back all, firing on all cylinders. I'd imagine Sam Allardyce in that 2 weeks finally gave him time to really, really work with the players, work on the defence, work on the system. And the players got, used to his way of working. And you have to say, if the league was going on for a few more games, then you wouldn't put it past them staying up. For me, I still think they're a little bit too far away. But, fair play to them. They're giving it a real good go.
Interesting. I just looked at their run-in, basically. And yes, they play Leicester and they play Liverpool and they play West Ham. But the rest of the games are against teams that have nothing to play for. You're talking at Leeds, Wolves, teams like that if you're scrapping for your life, you're going to go in and go, well, they've got nothing to play for. They're already thinking about the Euros. If you take Wolves, for example, Pedro Neto being out has already lost any hope of going to the Euros. Players will start to think about self-preservation, whereas West Brom are just fighting for their lives. So it could be very interesting, but it does feel just that little bit too little too late, but we'll see. It will definitely make it a very interesting relegation race if they do start to pick up points.
Yeah, they're 8 points off Newcastle with 7 games remaining. They got a game in hand in Fulham, but I wouldn't think Leeds have nothing to play for. Bielsa might have said to them, "Look, we were 7 points off 6th place with the possibility of Europa League. You never know. Obviously, depending on maybe who wins a cup or something." But talking about Leeds for a second, I really thought that they. The way they set up against Man City, was fantastic. And yeah, we'll come to their game in a minute. But, I think, they'll be pushing on. They're not easy for anybody, how they play football. Like, there seems to be no kind of panic in them, regardless if they're playing Man City or playing West Brom. They're still going to play the same way. But, fair play to Big Sam. Never been relegated. Hopefully, this is a season when he goes down. Okay, moving on. Old Trafford, 5:00 on Sunday. Man United against Burnley. Man United also are playing midweek in Europe. They do have the comfort, though, of playing at home. And I think they have a 2-0 lead over Granada. Was it Granada? Yeah. So, I got to say they impressed me against Tottenham. 1-0 down. Cavani came on and really, the header was fantastic. Greenwood came on in the end and banged in a third. And they showed real fighting spirit, Man United. And I think they're only a win. They're very, very close now to sewing up second spot. And then they can concentrate on the Europa League, winning that, and possibly, the City game in the FA Cup. Burnley have now been dragged back into a relegation fight, whether they like it or not. And what that game against Newcastle did prove was that the Burnley defence struggles against pacey attackers. And when also they want to play the high line, when opposition is playing the long ball. So Newcastle have Joe Linton up front, and Burnley know that they can have him for pace, and they play the high line. They push the centre-backs up near the halfway line. But then when Saint Maximin and Wilson came on, they didn't know what to do. They were worried, and they pushed all the way back to their own 18-yard box. And then they're kind of backtracking and worried. So I think, Man United's the attack they have has got plenty of pace. And, I think Burnley will be still worrying after this weekend, and I think it'll be a big win for United. Joe?
Yeah, I agree. You're absolutely right. When Burnley played Southampton, they couldn't deal with the speed of Walcott and Redmond. So you'd expect Man U to start with Greenwood maybe instead of Cavani. I keep reading and I keep seeing more and more that Sean Dyche will be the next Crystal Palace manager next season. I've seen that reported many times now. So you just wonder if, subconsciously the players are starting to think, is the manager going to be here next season? Sean Dyche may be thinking as well about his next project. Because, you're absolutely right. They have been dragged down into this relegation scrap, losing to Southampton and losing to Newcastle, 2 of their kind of rivals in that spot, is not good for them. So they need to get a couple more points from somewhere, but I don't think they'll get them against Man U.
Yeah, that's 1 win in 9 games now for Burnley. So, and I think that they could quite easily be one of those teams where, because they're literally not on the bubble, I think they're a point ahead of Newcastle. That could quite easily change in the matter of 90 minutes. And all of a sudden, then you are in that 16th place and you start to feel a little bit shakier and teams around you start picking up points. So Burnley, I would be a little bit more concerned for than maybe, say, a Newcastle. Despite their places in the league, I don't expect them to get anything here. I think United will win this. They'll canter to second place, and I think it's well deserved their second place.
I don't think they're dropping their heads, though, Joe. I mean, they could have beat Southampton quite easily, and they definitely should have had a penalty in that game, and they probably could have beat Newcastle as well. I mean, like Fino said there, Dubravka pulled off some fantastic saves. It was just probably the class of Saint Maximin and Wilson that came on, and I think Dyche was interviewed after the game, saying, "Are you jealous that you can't bring the likes of those players off the bench?" And I couldn't believe that somebody was actually being jealous of Newcastle and the players they had. But no, I mean, Crystal Palace for him, he'd obviously have bigger funds than Burnley would, definitely have a bigger budget. They've got the fine squad there, but the style of play they play is absolutely horrible, as we all know, with Palace. But yeah, I think Burnley will be all right. And I think it'll be the bottom 3 that's down there will go down. Whether Dyche hangs around or not, he's been there quite a while, and I don't think I don't know. I think he's quite happy there. I think the style of football Burnley plays kind of suits him. Monday night, 9:00, Leeds against Liverpool. Kev. Now Leeds were fantastic against Man City. Okay, Man City dropped a few players, but Bielsa has now taken 4 points off City this season, and Man City weren't used to that kind of football, because teams normally come and managers come and they set up cautiously. Bielsa didn't. He just did his usual thing, go and attack them. And Rafinha, what a player. What a signing he's been. What a player. And he really worried Man City. Liverpool, big late win against Villa. Could have went either way. Offside, dodgy decision, cracking goal from Trent Alexander-Arnold, Kev.
Yeah, it was a nervy old game, that, because there was a big chunk of time in the second half. I thought Liverpool were pretty good in the first half, but big chunk of time in the second half when Liverpool were pretty bad, eh? And Trent Alexander-Arnold was not having a great time either. Actually, he lost the ball a couple of times. Didn't look like he knew what to do with it. So, that was just what the doctor ordered. In the end, it was like last season all over again, to be honest, and the run in the previous season where they just somehow found the way to win in the game. Where like I say, it was all going badly for them. Like I've said before, I don't think Liverpool's problems have been solved. I think they're still exactly what they were, and we've identified them for a long time. Obviously centre back is still an issue, and that front 3 is just not playing right. And we've been saying it for 4 or 5 months. Now people are finally sort of seeing it, and you sort of see that, not questioning Mane in terms of his quality or anything like that, but people are now sort of saying, Jesus, this has got beyond a joke, and it's not, and it's now not that attacking trio that it was. It was that first game of the season, Liverpool Leeds, wasn't it? And it was absolutely, what a way to start the season. It was that 4-3 at Anfield was absolutely fantastic. I would not be at all surprised if we see something similar in the return game. I think unless Liverpool pull off a crowdless Anfield miracle, which isn't going to happen against Real Madrid this week, it's going to be a very disappointing week for them. They're going to need to win this game, but it's going to be tough, right? But I think we'll see a real battle, and maybe sort of the hope that I have is that, like I say, that win was just what they needed. And so regardless of what happens against Real Madrid this week, I think they should take a lot of heart from that, and they should have reminded themselves that they can find a way to win. And I think they're going to need to show all those sort of guts and all that determination and imagination, actually, to find a way past Leeds, because I think it's going to be a belting game again.
I think that this is really a chance as well for Liverpool to put a bit of pressure on Chelsea. The fact that they've been given a bit more time, due to the TV cameras, to rest the legs a little bit after Madrid. They play Monday night. Chelsea have a game on Saturday after playing tonight, Tuesday. All of a sudden, if Newcastle do pull off a result against West Ham, Chelsea don't play and Liverpool do win, suddenly they're back in the top 4 and everything looks somewhat rosy to the outside. I can't see Leeds pulling off an upset. I know that they play well and I know that they play good football. I'm really interested to see what happens next season as well, because I think that teams might come in and just start picking off players. So we talked about Rafinha there. Could quite easily see a Champions League team picking him up. Or even Patrick Bamford. Does he suddenly go to a big team like a Man City where he can use his pace or whatever it is? But yeah, I still think that Liverpool can hopefully get a result here and really make the top 4 race a really more exciting race.
For me, that Leeds win against Man City was the result of the season. I think to have a player sent off before half time at the Etihad, to be down to 10 men and still beat Man City. And yes, JP, like obviously they did rest Diaz, De Bruyne, Gundogan for the first half as well. But to come back, but to score when you're at 10 men at the Etihad is just extraordinary. Like the fitness that they had to show and the organisation, I thought it was extraordinary. And when you're looking at managers of the season, obviously you've got Guardiola, you've got Moyes. I think Bielsa has to be in there because I think Leeds will finish in the top 10 now. And I actually disagree, Finn. I wouldn't put it past Leeds beating Liverpool.
Yeah, I agree there, Joe. Like their fitness is phenomenal. They're the fittest team in the league. And also, you get down to 10 men, but Leeds are a team that plays on the counter-attack all the time, constantly, So, yeah, I think they'll give Liverpool a real go. Could be, hopefully, a 4 or 5 all draw. That's what we all want to see as neutrals. But the top 4 race is wide open. And don't count on Leicester falling out of it altogether. They bottled it last year. They might do it again. They've lost the last 2. Chelsea, phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal at the weekend. Chelsea play on Tuesday night against Brighton. You'd fancy them to, looking at the table, I mean, yeah, you'd fancy Chelsea to really annihilate Brighton. They played the best football I've seen them playing all season. That'll put them up to 57 points. Leicester, I think Maddison is out for the season, but I can see Leicester just falling off the picture altogether. And then it's down to the likes of West Ham, Liverpool, Chelsea, and if somehow Mourinho can reawaken the dead at Tottenham. Finno.
I think with Leicester as well, we have to remember that they were down 3 of their best, most creative players in Maddison, Perez, and Chowdhury because of their ridiculous COVID party breach. And Brendan Rodgers was absolutely within his right to stop them from playing, because the rumours that are coming out about them hiding in the dark in Chowdhury's mansion whilst Brendan Rodgers went to go and find them, it's just beggars belief. But I could quite easily see them falling out of the top 4. Chelsea, I think this all comes down to how the semi-final goes at the weekend. Again, if it goes the distance, then Brighton could easily prey on maybe some tired legs, because I don't think that Tuchel rotates the team quite as much as maybe a Lampard would. They're also playing in midweek here. You would expect Chelsea to have enough strength and depth to be able to pull off a result, but you never know.
Maybe Chowdhury's mansion had a huge portrait of himself, and that pissed off Brendan Rodgers.
Maybe.
Joe.
I think, Chelsea were really impressive, weren't they? I think we finally saw the best of Kai Havertz. I think he had a goal and an assist in the first 10 minutes, and they were 3-0 up after half an hour. They look really strong, but don't rule out Brighton. I think Brighton have drawn 12 games in this league so far, in this season so far, which is as much as anyone in the league. They are hard to beat, Brighton, but no, you'd think Chelsea should just have enough.
Yeah, I think Chelsea will blow them apart, and they destroyed Palace, but they were so good. They were almost poetic in attack. Speaking of poets and poetic, Kev, what have you got for us this week?
Okay, doing it a bit differently this week. I'm referring to all the games, so you can tick them off as you go this time. Here we go. If the Premier League's a stage and all the men and women players, the plot provides more mysteries than Dorothy L. Sayers. Now, we all know these roundups are just harmless fun and flimsy, but here are 10 tough questions that would task Lord Peter Wimsey. For starters, and I have to say, this doesn't feel too nice, how come the voice of reason now is one Sam Allardyce? From nowhere, his West Brom played like Brazil in '58. Another 3-goal win. And yeah, I know they've left it late, but Sam is bang on target with his VAR negation. And is there still a chance that they could stave off relegation? 2, I know Newcastle aren't the greatest ever team, man, but the more I watch, I wonder just how good is Saint Maximin. Thirdly, why do Tottenham seem to have no real ambition? Kane and Son are peerless, but each game's just pure attrition. Could the manager have some kind of a clause in his agreement that means the payoff's less without a Champions League achievement? 4, why do West Ham seem so damn nervous when ahead? You'd think a 3-0 lead would mean the game's been put to bed. 5, did any neutral stay awake for Monday's draw between Brighton and Everton, a soul-destroying bore? 6, whatever happened to that dashing forward trio? Salah, Mane, Bobby used to play with fucking brio. Salah still gets goals. Thank God his instinct remains killer. No thanks to VAR, he and Trent just saw off Villa. 7, Chelsea's comeback was just so good it hurts. So finally, will we now get to see the real Havertz? 8, will Arsenal ever be, again, proper consistent? 3-0 v the Blades, but that defence was non-existent. For Fulham, I'm afraid it was again the same old story. Question number 9, how great is Amadou Traore? And 10, Bielsa ball. I mean, can anyone explain it? A 2-1 win v City with 10 men, that's entertainment.
Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, lads.
Cheers, JP.
Cheers.
Thanks, JP.
This has been the Irishman, Englishman, and Scotsman Football Podcast. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you're listening on YouTube. And enjoy the games. We'll see you again next Tuesday. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to hear more of our podcasts, please click on the red subscribe button on the bottom right-hand side. Thank you.